We see on an island, there was a man named Washio who was teaching some monsters how to make snow using magic. Looks like Washio's running his own monster academy. He would often encourage them, saying that with practice they could master it too. A octopus monster raised his tentacles. She said she wanted to become a human when she grew up. Washio asked why she wanted. Blushing, she confessed that she planned to marry Washio in the future. Octopus-chan's got big dreams. But is marrying the teacher part of the curriculum? This made the other monsters upset, as they also wanted to marry their teacher. She explained that she felt different from humans because of 8 arms and many suction cups. Poor octopus monster worries she's too sucky for Washio's taste, but Washio picked her up and reassured her, proving love is truly tentacular. Who needs roses when you have 8 arms to hug with? And with a smile, Washio imparts some wisdom to his monster pupils. He disagreed with her assumption, and with a smile told all the monsters something important. In another time and place, there was a school called Munis Inium Real Academy in the Medium Kingdom. Some exhausted students were heading home when a girl accidentally collided with a male teacher. The man quickly apologized, but a female student overreacted. The girls hurried away, expressing their disgust because they had bumped into old Washio, who had an old man's smell. Washio sighed, feeling a bit hurt by the fact that everyone had given him a nickname and accused him of being smelly. Washio suddenly was a girl walked into the school with a suitcase. She looked around and Washio couldn't help but admire her beauty and obviously them huge jiggly puffs. As he mentally slaps himself back to reality, he's rudely reminded of the professional boundary between admiration and jiggly puff admiration. Note, keep eyes on the books, not the bouncing beauties. It was the first time Washio had seen her, and he wondered why she had a suitcase. Curious, he asked if she needed help finding her classroom. The girl was surprised, smiled, and gave him a tight hug. Washio, a man of culture, felt her soft, huge jiggly puffs, feeling awkward and assuming it was a prank. All the students were watching them. Washio was freaked out and asked her to let go. The girl, realizing the misunderstanding, backed off and explained that she was looking for the head teacher's office. She had forgotten her school map and asked Washio for directions. Can we just take a moment to admire those huge milk bazookas? Despite feeling flustered, Washio guided her to the office and reminded her about the map in the student ID book. The girl opened her luggage and started crying when she saw she had the wrong one. She got really worried because she forgot to bring her books. Washio knelt down and reassured her that it's normal to make mistakes when you're in a rush. He told her to stay calm so they could fix it while petting her head. The girl felt grateful and thanked Washio. He also mentioned she could replace her lost ID book. The girl remembered his advice about staying calm to avoid mistakes. Washio said it was something he learned from his past experiences as an office worker. He chuckled as he reminisced about his old job, but then he got quiet, lost in thought. The girl didn't understand a word he said and thought if she can eat it. Washio quickly changed the subject, trying to leave. She watched him go, feeling disappointed that he didn't seem to notice how actually she was. Later, in the busy teacher room, an elf teacher rubbed some paper on Washio's head, instructing him to fix the questionnaires. Washio then informed the elf, Limno Noah, that he was going to be busy cleaning the residences. Limno Noah advised him to come up with a better excuse next time. He kept saying that odd job suited Washio, unlike himself, who attended the Lu Division of Magical Studies as a consultant and effortlessly won a tournament. Washio just scratched his head and exclaimed how it was an honor to help someone as talented as Limno Noah. The elf glared at Washio, laughed, and left, calling him a miserable man. That evening, Washio trudged home feeling exhausted and hungry. He went past a loud tavern, glanced at it, but chose to keep walking since he had no money. He walked in silence until he arrived home. Surprisingly, the housekeeper greeted him warmly and offered some leftover dinner. Washio said sorry for the trouble. The housekeeper then advised Washio to find a wife who could cook delicious food for him. Washio chuckled, saying that as a low-ranking teacher, it wasn't likely. The housekeeper agreed and went away. Washio felt depressed and silently went to his room. He entered his untidy room, sat down, and took a few bites of the food he had just received. He lay there quietly, reflecting on what the housekeeper had said. He decided to take a shower to clear his mind and remembered how 10 years ago he used to work in an office with no prospects for the future. Back then, he didn't have a girlfriend, and one day, while reading a book of famous quotes on his way home, he unexpectedly got summoned to another world. He was hailed as a hero from a different world, gifted with magical abilities. However, he was conflicted with his mission when he realized that monsters were also living beings. Despite trying to save them, the monsters got caught and used for experiments. Washio opens his eyes, having dreamt such a nightmare. He gasps for air, recalling how he couldn't meet everyone's expectations and ended up as a regular teacher at Real Academy. He starts a new life in a new world, but hasn't achieved anything incredible or the heroism he always dreamed of. He's just an old man who can use a bit of magic. As he smokes, he remembers the times when he taught some young monsters. He smiles, thinking about the fun he had with them, and decides to go to sleep. The following morning, Washio made it to school on time, and Limno Noah teased him about having an old man smell. The principal then announced that a monster girl would be joining the school, leaving Washio puzzled. Limno Noah assumed that someone like Washio might not be familiar with monster girls and went on to explain. He shared that monster girls, with their various mutant species, were considered to have superior intelligence compared to elves. Despite originally being monsters, they took on a human appearance, especially resembling young human girls with beautiful looks. Limno Noah pointed out their exceptional physical ability and mentioned that not much was known about them since only a few existed. Washio complimented Limno Noah's knowledge, but the elf dismissed it as common information, reminding Washio that as a biology teacher, he should be familiar with such things. Nervously, Washio smiled and claimed he specialized in lower-ranking monsters. Limno Noah continued by explaining that due to these mutated monsters, the government and military officers had promised them a good future as part of the elite. The door opened, and Limno Noah was surprised to see a monster girl joining their school. The school director introduced the newcomer. The girl, Claudia, from the Kraken species, introduced herself. All the teachers were keenly observing her, particularly her face and of course her massive milkers. Washio quickly identified her as the lost girl. The school director then explained that during Claudia's first week, she would receive guidance from a teacher after completing a comprehensive exam. However, Claudia exclaimed that she had already chosen a teacher. She walked past some teachers and stopped in front of someone, telling them that it had been a long time. She extended her tentacles in front of Washio and smiled. However, Washio, who was just freaked out, didn't say anything back as a response. Claudia was disappointed that Washio hadn't realized it yet, and Washio claimed he didn't know any monster girls. Just then, Washio recalled an octopus girl from the time when he was teaching young monsters. Claudia then said it had been a long time since she last saw Washio. In the past, Washio had saved her and reached out to her tentacles. However, right now he could hold her human hands. Claudia reminded him about the time when Washio saved her. She smiled and told Washio that she had finally become a monster girl. Of course, we all know her goal, if you know what I mean. A few days later, Washio was running late for work again and had just left his apartment. Suddenly, someone called out his name. It was Claudia.
Damn, they are huge.
She offered him a ride. Washio thought she was joking. She wrapped her tentacle around his arm. Claudia sprinted like Usain Bolt while Washio tried to keep up, waving behind her. Later in the classroom, Washio thanked Claudia. It was the first time he'd been early all month. Claudia promised to give him rides every morning. Washio couldn't believe he was suddenly in charge of the creature he'd saved before. The next day, Washio was happy to see the octopus-like creature had transformed into a monster girl unrecognizable from before. Claudia praised him, but Washio just laughed. Other teachers protested, saying it wasn't fair to decide things this way. However, the school director gave 2 thumbs up, approving of Washio. Claudia felt relieved that decisions had been made. Limno Noah stepped forward and proudly declared that as a ranked A teacher, he was more suitable than a ranked E teacher like him. Claudia politely declined and asked Lim Noah not to address her as Washio-sensei based on her rank as it was impolite. Lim Noah was left speechless, and the other teachers chuckled at his expense. Washio worried that he might have upset Limno Noah. Claudia noticed his concern and inquired about it. Washio brushed it off, claiming it was nothing, and then asked how Claudia's first 3 days at school had been. Claudia happily shared that the classes were enjoyable, especially Wo's biology class. Washio was pleased to hear that, but quickly changed the subject and handed Claudia a form regarding her future. He expressed his belief that someone as talented as Claudia had a bright future ahead, particularly as a monster girl. He assured her she could easily rise to become a high-ranking officer. Claudia held her hands tightly on her thighs and pondered if she truly had no other option. She then admitted something that her classmates had mentioned to her. They kept urging her to recommend them to the king's department once she got in, because she was a monster girl, and they hoped to use her connections. She said even the teachers had hinted at the same thing. They told her she was a student with great potential and deserved an education at that level. She questioned if she really had to meet everyone's expectations and go through with it. Washio was too shocked to respond, until he advised her not to seek advice from someone like him and suggested asking a more qualified teacher instead. Claudia sadly gazed at him and reminded him that he was her designated teacher. YaHello couldn't say anything more and left the room. Claudia was clearly upset. During lunchtime, YaHello went to get a simple menu, and Claudia wondered if it would be enough for him. She reminded him that not eating well was bad for the body. YaHello said he was broke. Claudia then showed her form, saying she had finished it. However, someone grabbed it from her, and surprisingly, it was Noah. He crumpled the form when he discovered that a monster girl was only planning to become a teacher. He told her to reconsider because she was a monster girl who should aspire to something greater. Claudia was scared and speechless. YaHello then stepped in and said that a teacher should respect a student's decisions and dreams. Noah snapped, smacking Wo's food tray to the ground and saying it would be a great loss for the world. Everyone wondered if the two teachers were fighting. Noah said that someone talented like Kim should be in charge of Claudia, who was also talented. With his weak heart, YaHello agreed with Noah's words. The elf continued to scold YaHello and ordered him to request a change from the director. Just then, Noah let out a surprised shriek as a tentacle tapped his cheek. He turned around and spotted Claudia, who was asking him to stop bothering YaHello. She talked about how YaHello had been an amazing teacher, always supporting her dreams from the beginning back when she was disliked by everyone. YaHello had advised her to know herself. Everyone around them, especially Noah, was puzzled by what Claudia meant because it was an unfamiliar phrase to them. Claudia explained that it was something YaHello had told her a long time ago. She had been told to discover her own strengths and use them to her advantage. YaHello stopped for a moment, remembering when he used to teach small creatures. There was a time when Claudia dreamed of becoming human so she could marry YaHello, even though she worried people might dislike her because of her looks. YaHello lifted her spirits by sharing a phrase he loved: know yourself. He encouraged Claudia to discover her unique talents before feeling jealous of others. He urged her to focus on honing her own skills and finding happiness within herself. The little octopus blushed with embarrassment. YaHello explained that his advice was just his personal take on the phrase. He assured Claudia that he supported her dream of becoming human and would help her however he could. That simple sentence had helped Claudia fulfill her dreams, and she could clearly remember YaHello and his words all this time. YaHello was happy to see the little octopus evolve into a monster girl. Claudia said it was YaHello who had made her realize her good abilities and exclaimed that only he could be her teacher in charge. Noah still couldn't accept it and tried to say something. However, the other students agreed that YaHello should just do it, despite looking old and gross. They knew that YaHello was not useless, just like how Noah was claiming. They then continued talking about how annoying Noah was, like he knew everything in this world and didn't respect a student's wishes. YaHello noticed Noah trembling, and he realized that Noah was crying, feeling embarrassed. Noah hurriedly ran away, blurting out a line as if he were a member of Team Rocket. YaHello felt dazed by the sudden turn of events. Claudia suggested they should grab more food, seeing how mature the little octopus was. YaHello couldn't help but feel proud that Claudia had dreams of becoming a teacher. He felt happy about what he was doing and realized that he had forgotten something as simple as that. Remembering the past and the phrase he had told Claudia, YaHello couldn't help but laugh as he realized that the phrase had come back to him like a boomerang. It made YaHello realize that being a teacher was a good thing. The two then stopped in front of the cafeteria, and the touching moment was interrupted by YaHello, who was borrowing money from Claudia. Shortly after, during YaHello's biology class, YaHello talked about how Claudia could use poison, powerful magic, and inhuman strength. Claudia showed her strength by crushing a huge boulder with a single tentacle. Talk about smashing stereotypes. The class ended, and the students were amazed by Claudia despite her cute and fragile appearance. They were surprised to see more students attending the biology class lately. YaHello said, "Sorry to Claudia for any inconvenience, but the monster girl was glad to help him since she wanted to be with him." YaHello's attempts to downplay the situation fall flat as Claudia continues to playfully flirt as she reaches for the chalk writings on the higher part of the board. YaHello was shocked that Claudia could reach so high, but she said that what she showed was her limit. YaHello remarked on how useful the tentacle was and quickly apologized, sensing that his comment might have sounded insulting. However, Claudia took the opportunity to playfully tease YaHello about how useful it had been. She showed off its abilities, mentioning how it could stretch, shrink, bend, and was strong enough to crush a boulder. Wrapping her tentacles around YaHello, she jokingly touched him, claiming it was like giving a massage. Ah, the perks of having a multifunctional appendage. Never underestimate the power of a good tentacle massage. Washio's reactions range from flustered to bewildered as Claudia demonstrates the full extent of her tentacular prowess. Looks like Washio's learning that biology class isn't just about textbooks, it's about hands-on experience, tentacles included. She admitted she had worked as a masseuse for a while after they separated and had a good reputation for it. Washio was impressed and complimented her skills. Ah, nothing like a little praise to fuel the monster ego dropping to the ground. Claudia then suggested trying a different kind of massage. Talk about a bold move. Claudia's taking the massage game to a whole new level slowly. She moved her tentacles a bit lower and slipped them into Washio's pants as Washio began to pant. Well, that escalated quickly. Looks like Claudia's got Washio wrapped around her tentacles as things heat up. It seems Washio's getting a first-hand lesson in the benefits of monster massage therapy. Who needs a day spa when you have a monster masseuse? Claudia stopped and said she was only joking, wondering if she had made Washio nervous. Washio looked disappointed for some reason. Claudia mentioned she was still 16 in human years and was trying to charm Washio. The school bell rang and Washio said the next class was about to start. Claudia pouted in disappointment since she wanted to spend more time with Washio, but feeling hungry, she went out to get lunch. As she left, Washio slumped onto the teacher's podium desk, realizing how his heart had almost dropped. Meanwhile, Claudia still found it difficult to be charming. When the bell rang again, she hurried off somewhere outside the school. A carriage stopped, and a girl stepped out of it. The girl, dressed simply and with a pure look, wondered if Washio still remembered her. By the way, Washio had a nightmare involving tentacles that night. Seems like even dreams can't escape the tentacular allure of his monster-filled life. Ah, the joys of being a monster teacher, never a dull moment, even in sleep. Later that day, Washio emerged from the school building, appearing happy and refreshed. It was a rare occurrence for him to feel this way, almost like a miracle. Looks like Washio's caught a rare glimpse of happiness amidst the chaos of his monster-filled life as he walked away. Someone called out to him, and a girl hugged him from behind. Ah, surprise hugs, the perfect way to startle a weary teacher. Washio suddenly stepped back, feeling something soft milkers against his back. Talk about an unexpected sensation. It was the same girl who had exited the carriage earlier. She mentioned it had been a long time, but Washio didn't recognize her at all. Looks like Washio's got a case of selective memory. The girl acknowledged that she looked different now, having changed a lot. Ah, the wonders of transformation. Looks like someone's undergone quite the makeover. Then she lifted her skirt in front of Washio, who became nervous. Oh, things just took a weird turn. Spider legs emerged from underneath her skirt as she introduced herself as the spider Washio from the past. Well, that's one way to make an entrance. Talk about a spider surprise. It was evident that she had also transformed into a monster girl. Washio wondered if she truly was the little spider from back then. Shortly after, Washio and the girl went to a tavern. The girl was amazed when they arrived at a small restaurant with a broken chandelier. They were shown to their seats, and the girl wondered if the dirty barrel was meant for sitting. The tavern owner became upset, but Washio apologized. The owner forgave him and tried to be understanding since it was Washio's first time bringing a girl. Before long, they had a meal, and the girl enjoyed some meat and vegetables on skewers. She found it tasty despite the meat appearing dry. Washio became concerned because the spider girl was criticizing the restaurant. The girl explained she was just sharing her opinion. Since Washio was still using a nickname for her, the girl introduced herself as Arya. Those nearby admired her name just as they admired Arya's beauty. Washio couldn't believe that the timid little spider who always hid in the corner of the classroom had evolved into a monster girl. Arya said those were tough times but appreciated Washio's encouragement. Washio was puzzled by her remark. Arya remembered that Washio was still teaching and wondered what kind of influence he had on his students. Washio admitted he was now a biology teacher. Arya was surprised, knowing Washio had more potential. Washio said it was okay because circumstances had changed. Arya noticed Washio's sadness and wondered if that was true. Washio then changed the topic and asked Arya if she remembered the little octopus from before. Arya could only remember it as a naive creature. Washio then told her that the little octopus was now named Claudia. He mentioned that Claudia had become a monster girl like him and was also his student. He was happy that Claudia admired him, but he found their relationship a bit strange. Washio went on to talk about how clingy Claudia still was, just like when she was little. While Washio talked, Arya started to get increasingly irritated. She asked the tavern owner for the most expensive menu and beer. Washio was shocked by Arya's sudden change in demeanor, and even the other customers were surprised. Their meal had ended, and Arya started to wonder if it was okay for Washio to pay for everything. Washio laughed and said he could survive on bread for a week. Then he offered to walk Arya home, but her carriage arrived just in time. Washio realized Arya must be wealthy before she boarded the carriage. Arya hugged Washio and expressed her hope to see him again, telling him how happy she was to meet him once more. Washio smiled proudly and watched her leave as the carriage departed. Arya found herself giggling, her spider legs extending out. She couldn't believe she had finally achieved her dream of hugging her teacher with human hands. But her mood shifted when she remembered Washio happily mentioning Claudia. She felt a pang of jealousy that Washio was talking about another girl in her presence. Then she noticed a wrapped gift beside her and realized she had forgotten to give it to Washio. Determined to catch up with him, she made up her mind. In the meantime, Claudia went back into the classroom looking for Washio, where a student informed her that he's gone with a beautiful black-haired girl, surprising Claudia. Looks like Claudia's got some unexpected competition. Folks comment for part 2, as the plot thickens as more monster girls enter the scene, adding a new layer of complexity to Washio's already intriguing life. Who will be the next monster girl to capture his heart? Alright, so remember how I said if the last video popped off I'd unlock the forbidden 2 videos per week technique? Yeah, about that. The video did okay, but YouTube still got me out here, surviving on instant noodles and expired hopes. I even went out looking for an editor thinking maybe I can make this work, but these dudes out here charging $80 for a 10-minute video? Bro, for that price I better get Hollywood-level editing, slow-mo explosions, and CGI MILFs in my recap. So here's the deal. I could drop 2 videos a week, but I ain't about to blow my secret stash on just 2 extra videos and then go straight back to the struggle. I need to level up first. If y'all really want 2 videos a week permanently, y'all gotta help me out. Like, comment, sub, share it with your dog, your grandma, your goldfish. Kidnap your neighbor's dog and make him watch, I don't care. Once YouTube stops paying me in Monopoly money, I'll make it happen. Until then, I gotta move smart.